How can we combat terrorism, fight poverty, and promote democracy in the developing world? Well, the interesting thing is that all of those issues, fighting terrorism, promoting democracy, fighting poverty, are all closely linked. Clearly, there are important kinetic, or what the military calls kinetic options to fighting terrorism, which means that there are some bad people you simply have to capture or kill. But the vast majority of what one needs to do in order to fight terrorism means fighting the causes of terrorism. That means countering extremism. It means creating political space for people to advocate for their rights in a nonviolent way. That means creating economic opportunities so people have other options simply than engaging in violent conflict. So in very important ways, the more we actually help other people in other countries to improve their livelihoods, improve their political prospects for their countries, the more secure we make our own country against the sources of terrorism. How is this different from the Bush administration's plans, and why will it work? The Bush administration has recognized that there are both kinetic and non-kinetic options to fighting terrorism, meaning they recognize they have to kill or capture bad guys, and they also, to their credit, in principle, recognize that you have to work to make people's lives better. The problem is they've done precious little to actually fund the non-kinetic portions of our government, the ones that are designed to actually help other people, make other people's lives better. It's sort of like going to the doctor and the doctor gives you a great diagnosis for your disease but doesn't give you any medicine or doesn't give you the appropriate treatment. So what has to be done in another administration is substantially increasing the amount of money that we spend on foreign assistance, and even more importantly than increasing the amount, far more important, we have to reform the architecture or the bureaucratic processes by which we deliver assistance to other countries so that we can do so in a way that works better with the other parts of our government, like the Defense Department and the State Department, and so that we can be much more flexible and ultimately much more effective in the provision of foreign assistance and achieving the sorts of results we want to get out of our foreign aid in the next administration. Where is this approach most needed? Well, we need this approach in many places around the world, but the two regions which are probably the most difficult now and will be the most difficult for a new administration are Pakistan and Afghanistan on the one hand, and the Horn of Africa, focusing on Somalia on the other. Pakistan is one of the most fragile political systems in the world. It has nuclear weapons. It also borders one of the largest fragile states in the world, Afghanistan, which is where the attacks of September 11th came from. And it is one of the places where the intersection of good governance, of battling extremism, of economic development, and indeed of conventional military operations all come together in a very, very complex way. And it is simply not enough that our approach to Afghanistan and Pakistan be focused on the sort of military action and military assistance we've been giving for several years. We really do have to be much better there at funding the development pieces of our foreign policy. Regarding the Horn of Africa, Somalia has been a failed state for many, many years. Things have gotten dramatically worse in recent years, both with the growth of piracy, the growth of a dramatic food crisis, the growth of extremism there, and obviously the start of a major hot war with the invasion of Ethiopia into Somalia in late 2006. The stability that is happening in Somalia is affecting many parts in the Horn of Africa and Ethiopia and Kenya and Uganda. So the Horn of Africa is another place, again, where U.S. military priorities coincide with our need to have meaningful economic development and also our need for supporting meaningful democracy and governance reforms. And those two places, the Horn of Africa and Pakistan and Afghanistan, will be the top of the foreign policy priorities of whatever the next administration happens to be.